Hey, we're here. We made it. I did it. I did the thing. I succeeded, and sometimes I don't. And I'm pretty sure I'm not muted this time. Last time I was muted, and that was because I didn't actually put any of the. Don't you start with me. What is this? This is church. You're supposed to be respectful. Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh my God, I forgot something terribly important. Introduce yourselves. I'll be right back. Oh, no. No, this is really important, I promise.
Okay. Good,
well, officer, the last we saw of her, she said she had something very important to get, and I haven't seen any of. We don't know. She seemed fine. She seemed.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea that a crime spree was about to happen. She seemed in high spirits. Everything. I didn't get any indication that there was the. Certainly wasn't expecting to see all those bodies on the news.
Something about I can't stand 7-Eleven anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Look at that.
We cannot.
Nice.
You cannot have a church without somebody with a goofy, funny pony hat.
Is that supposed to be like an octopi or?
Yeah, it's a squid. It's my squid hat. This is my squid Pope hat.
Now we have to talk about PC Myers later and his obsession or sexual obsession with squid. Yeah.
Oh, good, great. I may have brought this upon myself. I am my own worst enemy every single time.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have the he's an asshole merit badge from PC Myers, so I'm proud of that one.
I've only heard bad things about that guy. I'm not gonna lie. I've
go.
never had to interact with him myself.
People think being your own worst enemy is like a bad thing, but like I much prefer that than if somebody else was, out to get me.
That's fair. That's fair. That's a good point. So, did you guys succeed in introducing yourselves?
No, not at all. Yes, or yeah, I don't know. No, we were just making fun of you, but it's okay.
I mean,
we were not making fun of her. We were not making fun of you. That's not how I would characterize that. She'll find out when it goes live, when she clicks back on it. I don't know what to call it. The guys in the chat will heard what we were saying.
It's okay. It's okay. That's what my Discord is all about. If you've ever stopped by in there,
I don't do Discord.
Nightmare.
I used to do Discord and then I stopped.
Well, you're always welcome to join up if you want. The link is in the description.
Don't ever say something like that, because I told you I will turn up at some point if you say
then, coward.
Oh, damn.
That's fair.
Shots fired.
Not really.
All right.
That's perfectly reasonable.
So we have a tagline of what we're supposed to be talking about today, because, I made this joke on Twitter, and then everybody, the response I got was too real.
Of course,
you know what I mean? I was like, I'm gonna go do my own.
How dare you? Yeah.
Where's the whimsy?
It wasn't even a how dare you. It was yeah, do that. Can I join? I was like, nice. Oh no.
I was only always in this for the whimsy, just to explain.
Right?
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm really very much not a community type person. If there's any sort of community forming for any reason at all, I will generally sprint in the opposite direction.
Well, because it's usually about you, as in people with pitchforks.
A community of police officers. Run away. So, yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But I think what we're going to talk about is, because, I was kidding. But as I was getting responses to that joke, I noticed that people were kind of like, okay, but everything sucks. Can we do anything about this? And so I started thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? Let's at least talk about it.
Well, I saw one of your shows. Your shows keep popping up on my YouTube suggestions, and I saw one of your shows where you're talking.
You don't subscribe? God damn it, Barry!
Do I subscribe to you? How do I find out? I don't know. It doesn't matter. I'll check later. But you were talking to a bunch of guys, and it was about the idea of how you would maintain a sense of community within atheism.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a serious conversation, although they were joking around, because that's one of the big things in religion. And one of the big benefits of religion is that it gives you a sense of community, whether you want one or not.
Right.
And suddenly you're with, like, I was staying with Southern Baptists for a while, and the girl I was talking to, she held a party for me so everybody could come and see the atheist and poke him. And when she was inviting her friends, introducing her friends, she didn't say, like, this is Sarah, she does this. This is Sarah, she sits there in the church. This is Tony, he sits there in the church. This is Billy, sits down there in the church. That's how she introduced all her friends. Like, that's an embedded sense of community. No one's getting away with anything in that community.
Everybody knows, and they're judging and watching you all the time.
And I knew another guy, who was a Jehovah's Witness. And I don't know what he did or what he said, but he was what he calls disfellowshipped. That means these Jehovah's Witnesses are told not to hang around with people who are not Jehovah's Witnesses.
Right.
And don't talk to them. They're going to set you off or whatever, right? Not that they're bad people or anything, but this is just part of their gig. And he got disfellowshipped, which means his entire social network was cut off of him.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
He wasn't allowed to talk to them. He wasn't allowed to have anything to do with them. He wasn't allowed to go to church. And to him, although to me that would be like the end of all my problems, to him, that was like having his arm cut off. Because he's not allowed to talk to people who aren't Jehovah's Witnesses, and he's not allowed to talk to people who are Jehovah's Witnesses. And what is he supposed to do? Like if he has, let's say, a substance abuse problem, which is pretty much impossible to navigate unless you talk to somebody.
Right.
Or
What's
any
he
kind of a
supposed to
problem.
do if he's a human?
Oh, get this, pray a lot.
Oh, well, I mean, that's going to be helpful, right?
Yeah, Jesus can help you out of that one, mate. I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, somebody to talk to, I guess.
Yes, and that's just to do with like individual communities inside a country. So that's like Southern Baptists in Texas and Jehovah's Witnesses in my town in Ireland.
Right.
But then you have people who live in entire fucking countries that are like say Libya or something, where the whole country is just like Muslim and everything's Muslim, and you have things going up at 6 o'clock and everything is just Muslim, Muslim, Muslim. And if you decide if you think and you say, oh, I haven't seen any evidence for Allah existing, I think I'm out, you're in serious trouble.
Yeah.
Not just
Right.
because they might want to kill you. Even in countries where they won't want to kill you, you're still in serious trouble. Like there's plenty of countries where Muslim majority countries where being an atheist isn't going to cause you any trouble. But some of them there are. But let's say even in the ones where it's not a legal issue, your family are going to, they're not going to respond well to that if they think everything is Allah, Allah, Allah. Your community where you live, it's just going to be an absolute nightmare. What would you do? You'd have to move out and move to the city.
If they let you.
If they let you. Like I've
You
heard
have to be,
stories on
like-
Yasmin Mohammed's Twitter account. She's just got a bunch of accounts of girls who just decided to stop wearing hijab. That's it. They're still Muslims, but they stopped wearing hijab and it kicked off this whole thing.
Yeah, I saw some of that.
So there's something, because atheism is essentially reactive, and because like if there was never any religions, none of us would be atheists. We'll all just be here. So because atheism is essentially reactive, and because it tends to be reactive against organized communities, there's something built into atheism, which is kind of anti-community at base.
Right.
So what are you supposed to do? You can't go along to another bunch of people who've just like disorganized themselves from communities and say, let's all do this together. It almost doesn't make any sense as a concept.
Well, it's really difficult too because you're dealing with a situation where believing God doesn't exist. It doesn't really unite you on any front.
Correct.
When it comes to like, oh no, here's the tenets and the dogma of what we do believe. Right.
Yeah,
this
there's
is
no
not
dogma.
like the trouble of trying to build a community, especially one that is so interested in politics for some reason.
Yes, I am interested in politics.
Well, I mean atheists online being interested in politics in general.
Oh, yeah, I'm one of them.
Well, stop.
I can't. That's what I do. I write articles. I write political articles and get them published in magazines.
No.
Yeah.
I mean
Yeah.
that the political the movements in particularly America with the ACA, right?
Yeah.
Is that their whole shtick is we want an atheist political movement complaining about religion and politics. But
Okay,
if you
tell me something about the ACA before you.
That's Matt Dillahunty's.
yeah.
Oh,
that's
the
it. The Texas stuff.
Yeah.
Austin people.
Yeah.
Okay, carry on.
And you might as well say it's the Matt Dillahunty thing because that's what it is from now on. It never started at that, but that's what it is.
Yeah, that's
So,
where it's currently at.
yeah,
But so if you are trying to do a political movement and your major complaint is your movement's idea is to remove religion from politics, but you come at it from a religious viewpoint of that you're atheists, you're bringing religion into politics. If you want to change people's minds to say, hey, listen, we don't think, let's take abortion, for example, because that's a big deal in Texas right now.
Yeah.
If you take abortion and you say, hey, listen, abortion should be allowed and you should change your mind because your God's not real, that's bringing religion into politics. That's the opposite of what you're trying to do. And you're not really going to change anybody's mind like that, not from a political standpoint.
Okay, so I think me and you might differ on this. So
Yeah, go for it.
if the political whatever is religious based, in other words, if it is some sort of action or social norm that needs to be corrected in the religious, zeitgeist, and that's what they're trying to impose on others. Yeah, I think it's okay for the atheist to come forward and say, look, you need to stop this and not, force
Right.
everybody to conform for that. But at the same time, I don't think because the ACA is also adopting other things that are not related to religion and trying to, saying, well, we're humanist and that's where we need to be. That's something completely different. And I think that kind of falls on deaf ears when you try to explain that to them,
Yeah, I think you can change somebody's mind from a political standpoint without utilizing the religious aspect.
Right.
Well,
right. And so in doing things that you can still change, that's not to say you can't change anybody's mind by changing their religion. I just don't think if you want religion out of politics, this is not the argumentation you want to use.
In Ireland, we've had a number of referendums in the last few years. I guess the first one really was the divorce. We had a referendum on divorce in 1995. Divorce was against the law in Ireland until 1995. So if you didn't like if your husband was an alcoholic wife beater before then, you go to the priest and say, is there anything you can do? But we had a referendum, and the referendum passed by 0.3%, which means about roughly half the people in this country showed up to the ballot to say, not only do I personally disagree with divorce, but you can't have one either.
Right.
And that was the start, I think, of when people realized that maybe the Catholic Church needs to get the fuck out of the laws. So then we had, in 2015, there was a gay marriage referendum, and that went through fairly comfortably. So we were the first country in the entire world to legalize gay marriage by a public vote. And then in 2018, we had a vote to remove a rather contentious campaign to remove the 8th Amendment to the Irish Constitution, which pretty much banned abortions. And now abortions are not illegal anymore in Ireland, which is fantastic. But there was a very real sense in which those issues were framed and set inside this box of, we need to de-Catholic the country. It's not healthy to have this kind of religious thing. And all the people who were on television arguing that gay marriage is bad were all like representatives of the Catholic Church. They were part of right-wing think tank groups who were also Roman Catholics. Right. And the same thing with the abortion thing. All the people who wanted to talk they were all Catholics, Roman Catholics. So it's hard, it was hard not to bring in, you didn't even have to mention, like what you said, maybe you don't have to mention atheism at all. You just say, listen, we need to de-Catholic the country. Because this is also, what really kicked off the abortion thing, there was a lady called Savita Halappanavar, and she's, yeah, right, she's a Hindu, and it's some parts of this are funny, but it's also tragic. And she had a baby inside her. Yeah, she had a baby inside her that was killing her, and an abortion would have fixed all that. And she was told, oh, you can't, this is a Roman Catholic country, love. Right? Now, you can't be saying that to people. That's not cool. And she died because that rotten thing inside her gave her septicemia, and she died. Yeah. So this Catholic thing it affects everyone.
It's one of those things where you shouldn't have your government making laws based on religious ideologies,
right? Concerning the establishment of religion,
right. Yeah. Especially in a country or any country that is supposed to be freedom from religion, right? Freedom of religion. So
well, we didn't have a First Amendment, you see. We just had our
right. So you get this kind of problem where you're saying, okay, listen, if you want to deal with an individual or if you want to deal with a group, do you want to deal with people on a one-to-one basis and change political minds on a one-to-one basis? Or are you trying to say, hey, listen, the way this entire group is approaching politics is incorrect because it's pulling religion in? Because I bet you taking the atheist heading and opening it up instead of segregating it out, you'd probably end up with a lot of religious people that would fucking agree with you.
Yes. Well, a lot of natural allies of atheists, like fighting a Catholic Church, would be very religious people, like Muslims and Hindus and so on. They'd be
Christians.
Yeah, other Christians. They'd agree with pretty much everything we're saying. So I guess, maybe you're right. Maybe it's not about atheism at all. It's just about having a country that works properly.
Well, and it's about not having the discussion isn't about whether or not God exists. The discussion is whether or not a particular religion's dogma ought to dictate what is happening in Congress or in your particular government's setup. Supreme Court, whatever you got.
2 years ago, they had a vote in my Congress, which is called the Dáil, and they had in the Dáil they had a vote whether or not they're going to have a prayer before they do their business, right? And of course, a bunch of TDs said, yeah, fine. I think they still have that prayer, and yeah, but I wrote a letter to somebody saying, if you're going to have the Roman Catholic prayers, you surely have a prayer for all the religions to respect, because to respect everybody's religion. And then I did a quick estimate, and I said it would take about 17 hours before start of business every single day if you're going to have a proper non-denominational secular prayer service. No answer. Nobody answered me. Nobody cares. I feel like I hate Muslims, I guess.
17 hours?
Yeah, if you think of all the prayers that all the people would want us to do before they start all over the world, like Buddhists and Hindus and all the little religions, like you'd have. That's
got to be a YouTube's video somewhere. That's got to be a video somewhere where it's just 17 hours of all the prayers all lined up in a row with like.
What you're saying is, may the gods bless our doings today, and hello to everybody. It's a quick thing. 17 hours, no problem.
Yeah, right. Every single god.
What was it in Game of Thrones? And the name of the old and the new gods, or something like that. So like, we got all the bases covered. It's all good.
Yeah. So. Those Middle Ages gods.
Shorthand. I just think that I don't understand it seems hypocritical to me, or at least counterproductive, to say our goal as atheists is to try to remove religion from politics. So we're going to tell you your God's not real, so that way you'll change your mind about whatever topic. Yeah. Like that seems like the opposite.
As I was telling you on Twitter, and I was telling the gentleman in the video that I was talking about before on Twitter just a few days ago, that I used to be quite Matt Dillahunty. I used to be I'd find Christians saying stupid shit, and I'd try to say, well, logic, you fucking idiot, right?
The anger.
Yes, but I calmed down a lot. I calmed down a lot because of my political activism.
Mm-hmm.
See, I thought whenever you said you're a lot like Matt Dillahunty, that you're pro-pedophiles, but I guess I was,
Oh God, we're gonna go that direction, go that way, are we? Okay. Oh, okay, I see how it is.
I'm not pro-pedophiles, no.
I know.
But from speaking to people and being politically active, you realize that you kind of have to come at things in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just throw things, and also it involves a certain level of humility in that you might be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't see a lot of that from people like Matt Dillahunty.
Humility, not his strong suit.
Well, I don't believe in a God, right? But I don't know. I can't tell you for certain because I don't have access to the information I would need in order to tell you for absolute certain that there is no God. All I can say is I haven't seen anything to convince me yet. And I'd like, things to kind of be without all those rules based on things that don't have any evidence for them and so on. But I'm not going to say there definitely isn't a God. It's a ridiculous thing to say. But I would say things like that years ago.
Well, even in the same line to say, hey, listen, I do believe in a God, but that doesn't mean person B over there knows what that God thinks and is saying and is now dictating to the fucking entire country what needs to happen.
That's what I used to be thinking. Like, what was it like to be a Muslim in Ireland?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
When the Catholics were running the place. There's no Islamic ban on abortions or anything. They're quite forward-looking in some ways, and
the Bible doesn't really have any bans on abortion either. But that doesn't stop the Catholics.
It not only doesn't have any bans, but it recommends it as policy on more than one occasion.
Yep.
In the Bible, the bitter water, and also the Hosea book where God says he'll come down, he'll rip the children out of the womb. I don't know what you'd call that.
Yep.
I'd call that an abortion.
Yeah.
So
Aliens.
Was the flood a late term abortion? I don't know.
A fourth trimester abortion.
Yeah, something like that
for everybody on the planet.
But yeah, I mean, right now we're in the gulf of this, Christian nationalism that is just, it's just giant. And it's you could also kind of say that maybe it's also in part because of, the work that us damn atheists have done. Right, it's kind of a response to some of that, but the problem is it's also unconstitutional, and they don't understand it because they think that it's a Christian nation. Yes, by populace, but that's it.
Well, there's also like this whole shtick where it's permeating other countries.
Right.
Right, and it's like, could you stop?
Yeah.
Well, also you could say that to the way we used to do things. I don't know if any of you were like this, but I was quite Matt Dillahunty-ish. The way we used to do things, it's whatever we're doing, it has not been working. Texas has gone back. Yeah. America, like people voted for Trump for president.
Mm-hmm.
Boris Johnson's in charge of England. Like that's insane.
Mm-hmm.
And there's countries like Hungary and Poland are being taken over by basically religious fascists. Like, what are you supposed to, like, in Poland, they're having real trouble trying to figure out how to get rid of these abortion laws,
Yeah, well, again, it's a matter of politics. And I really don't think that that focusing on the whether or not you believe God exists is not a good focus if you want political change. If you want a political change and you lead by demonstration. You say, hey, listen, we're going to use logic, we're going to use reason, we're going to follow the data, we're going to analyze the data, we're going to listen to experts, and we're going to make policy based on that information.
So never open with atheism.
Don't open with whether or not God is real. You can still open with, hey, I'm an atheist, I don't believe God exists.
When you open with an atheist, that's kind of opening with that. If you use the word atheist.
By default. Yes. If you start with that. But if you sit there and say, hey, listen, this is what I believe. But what I believe about a greater deity is not related to current policies here and now, because even if you believe that God exists, you can't possibly know for certain, the same way I can't possibly know for certain what that deity thinks about this policy that's being written by Magic the Gathering, Marjorie Taylor Greene, bitch.
Yes. I did that in my head. I did that when I saw the thing. I said, "That's what the fuck?" Oh, you're talking about that.
It's Magic the Gathering. What's happening here?
Awesome.
I hope Wizard sues her. That'd be hilarious.
Yeah. Drop one dark ritual. Fuck you, Marjorie.
I have the Hollywood space laser, or I'm sorry, it's the Jewish space lasers card. How does that play? Right?
Jesus.
Opening. Okay, well, Rodent suggests is opening as a skeptic, and I feel like that those things have become too synonymous that people will assume anyway.
Yeah, although there's a hell of a lot of atheists that aren't fucking skeptic, that's for sure. So.
Let me throw this out there. How about this? How about if what your religious affiliation ought to be irrelevant to your politics?
There's a novel idea.
Well, that's not going to work for religious people.
Right.
Oh, that's okay. It doesn't have to. It's a lead by example.
Yeah.
Sure. I guess. Right. And then, but then you see, if you identify as skeptics, that will also include pretty much all flat Earth people who think of themselves as skeptics.
I mean, it's not like they're not in politics.
Yeah. Well, I think the flat Earth, I think the whole conspiracy theory thing is just sad, lonely people looking for a community.
That's a kind way to look at them.
Yeah. Have you seen the documentary on Netflix?
No, I didn't. I didn't spend the time.
I don't know what it's called. It was flat Earth. Very interesting.
Beyond
the Flat Earth one.
Beyond the Curve.
I think that's it.
Beyond the Curve.
I saw part of it where basically they introduced the actual science.
Yes.
And it was totally different from what they already said was going to happen, and they were like, "Well, it's obviously wrong." It's
They will do it again. Yeah, God love them. So I think it might be there's a lot of lonely people in that documentary, and they get. I think this is what happened to the Trump vote as well. They get very kind of aware that they're being excluded somehow from the avenues of power, from having influence over the decisions that affect them, from being in a place that liberal elites call flyover states. You know, like I can kind of get why that would be annoying to people as en masse. You see all the California people and all the New York people.
Bob, that's who it was. No, I said Bill. It was Bob. Bill's the guy from AAI.
Oh, yeah.
I'm getting all the atheists and the flat earthers confused.
Yeah, we talked to a flat Earth guy on the show, me and John.
You did, and it was bizarre.
Oh, yeah. In the comments section, still we get weird ass comments in there. But like, eventually, we're just like, hold on, like, what's the reason behind all the conspiracy? Why is all these nations? Because obviously it's got to be all of them are keeping everybody in the dark about it. And he was just like, it's the Illuminati. Don't you know that? Like we were complete idiots. Like, what, you guys don't know this?
Obviously.
But did you think that guy was a grift?
You know what? Yeah, a little bit. I mean, he's definitely a grifter, but I kind of think he also...
Because I know there are flat Earth people who are definitely not grift.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I'd like talking to them.
With his $2.99 app, I'm kind of thinking he is a grifter, but I also kind of think he believes a little bit of this bullshit.
Oh, does he? Okay.
So, yeah.
It's hard to tell. I'm always bad at telling whether or not somebody is actually just a good Poe or is actually believing what they are. I try not to be too judgy about it. I go out of my way to not be judgy, and I'm like, listen, I'm just gonna take it as it is and see where this goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can still learn something from a conversation with a good Poe.
Oh yeah. Sure. Like how to be a better Poe.
It's not where I was going with that, but okay.
I mean, this dream started as a joke, and we're talking about serious issues. I don't know.
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
wearing a squid hat.
Sorry.
Yeah, I can keep it light. I won't say
No,
serious
be
things.
serious. No. That was the point. The
Okay.
joke got too real, and now we have to talk about it.
So real.
Too real. We're
Meta,
gonna go
meta,
full meta. Yeah, we're gonna make this a call-in show. You want me to? Okay, call-in shows. Let's
Yeah.
talk about
Oh,
that.
jeez.
Atheist call-in shows. Why?
What do you mean? Oh, like you mean like the atheist experience?
Yeah, like the atheist experience made sense when it first came out because the whole idea initially was criticizing religion and why it was problematic in society, and then also getting out that atheists are just people too.
Yes.
Right. So the call-in show to be able to like ask an atheist and have a conversation was a great, like, it was a boon. Like, that's fantastic. Great. Now people can actually just have a conversation. And then it turned into, let's just shit on idiots that call in. And it's like, that's not that. Is that the experience that everybody is having?
I think we can shit on idiots without being atheists.
Right?
Yeah.
I think some idiot atheists get shit on.
That's fair, yeah.
Yeah, it again, not to, well, since we're going to shit on people, let's shit on Dillahunty some more.
Here we go.
Yeah, because I mean, it became all about his ego again.
Oh my God, watching him on Twitter talk to a black woman and tell her to shut up about racism was probably like one of the what the fuck.
Yeah,
he used to be like that, He used to not be like that. He was always kind of logic and reason, but he wasn't like abusive to people.
Well, he started sniffing his own ass. That's the problem. He started believing that it was all about him. I mean, I remember like whenever I first deconverted. Yeah, when I first deconverted, I went down that rabbit hole, man. It'd be like 2 or 3 times a day. I'd be listening to back episodes just to kind of it was my church in a way, right? And I remember there was an episode where he was sick and couldn't be there, and they had 2 other hosts go on for him. He calls in and chastised them on how they dealt with one of the callers.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the actual fuck, man?
That's so embarrassing.
Yeah,
like,
just what the fuck?
For him, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's.
I remember years ago I saw a call he did, and this is before obviously he tipped over.
Yeah.
He was on with Don, and I like Don.
I like Don too.
Somebody called in. It was some old lady or something. And she said, hello. And he goes, hello. And he says, what's going on? He says, my son told me to call in. I'm a Christian and I love Jesus. And he told me to call in here and that you'd straighten me out. And Matt Dillahunty goes, no.
That's a good response to that. No, absolutely
Your
not.
son is not your friend. Your son did not want you to have this. Your son is trying to make fun of you in the other room. This is not good. You put that kid on the phone right now. And that's what you need.
You need to go to therapy.
Yes. That's responsible. Basic social responsibility.
Yeah.
As a human being to another human being, he could have smashed her to pieces, but he chose not to because what's the point? She's not going to learn anything. It's not going to help anyone. It's certainly not going to help that kid.
No,
right.
I
mean, I understand.
I don't know if you do that now, though.
Being like a little shithead once in a while and being like, yeah, you should totally call in these people.
Okay, they'll help me talk about Jesus. Oh, they love talking about Jesus. Yeah.
Oh, no. Somebody suggested in the Discord, because I opened up the Discord before we went live, and somebody suggested in the Discord prank calling Atheist experience.
Oh, that would be brilliant.
And I was like, that is kind of funny.
Yeah.
People do that already, don't they?
Well,
I think that already happens. I think that whole show is basically, sadly for the people who involved who are not really problematic people, it's gone in that direction where the show is kind of a joke. Same with like the hang up. It's like that.
Well, the hang up itself, the premise was, just
it's a joke.
Yeah.
Why don't you just call the show the fuck you?
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
You're on live with the fuck you. What would you like to say?
Yeah. Yeah, so my brand of atheism is just to be a bully to everybody in the room. That's why I'm so great.
Yeah, like as if that's like, how are you getting away with this in 2022? Like 2022 has a whole lot of anti-bullying, a whole lot of you can't say anything to anybody. It's construed wrong, and you get away with this show that's just bullying religious people.
And I think you can be a firebrand and still not be a bully. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. You can be aggressive without bullying people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to do that on my blog. I have an atheist blog, and that's what I try to do. I try to be very aggressive about things, but I never attack anybody.
Right.
I never say anything mean about anyone. And if it
'Cause
looks like
it's-
I'm go on.
Sorry, go ahead. It's about the ideas, right? It's
Yes,
not
and
about.
But sometimes I have to use people as an example. Like sometimes
Sure.
I'll use established public personae,
Yeah.
or like what I do is I take an image and I talk about it. Sometimes the image comes from somewhere, and I'll have to say, "Well, I got this here," and I always put at the end, "Do not talk to this person. Leave them alone. I'm just using this to illustrate." You know, like I did that
Right.
today. I was talking about whether or not it's okay to say unkind things about Muhammad, right?
Mhm.
Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And I obviously would argue that it's okay to say mean things about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam because that's
He was a
just part
pedophile?
of freedom of speech. Well, now, Seamus,
What?
we don't know that.
8-year-olds, dude.
First of all, the hadith you're talking about is not verified, right? Where Aisha said she was 6 years old when she got married. Secondly, there are verified hadiths which say Asma, her older sister, was 10 years older than her, and she got
Okay.
Asma was born 27 years before the Hijrah, and Aisha got married 2 years after the Hijrah, which means that in those hadiths, which if you add them all up, Aisha must have been 19 years old when she got married.
So this
Sure,
brings up a
sure.
whole nother problem, right? What just happened?
Yeah.
Atheists picking up on like bad history or bad like memes or like
Well, it's not bad. It's not
ill-informed-
bad. It's not bad. It's not bad history. There is a hadith that's where Aisha says I was 6 years old when I got married.
Yeah, but what I mean is like I don't mean this one in particular, but
Sure.
there's nuance there. There's like conversation there where there might be this, there might be that. But if you latch on to one thing and you now just go and harass religious people and you only answer with these one-off gotcha memes, you're not getting anywhere. Like this isn't a discussion. People
Chesh.
think they're having a debate, and it's just like you don't know what a debate is.
I have to
Yeah.
tell you, talking to these Muslims opened
Yeah.
up my eyes,
Mm.
not just about Islam, but about everything.
Mm.
If you don't just talk to one, because they all have different ideas about everything. So talk to like a couple of different Muslims, and then you'll have like a handle on Islam and how people feel about it, and that's fascinating stuff. Fascinating. Like someone said to me once, like, "Do Westerners really think we're all terrorists?" And I was like, "Not many, some do." And then she was like, she said, "That's ridiculous. There's a billion of us.
Yeah.
Like if we were terrorists, you'd all be dead." And I was like, "Yeah, I know. Yeah."
We have a number of people that if all of the equivalent number of people strapped bombs to their chest on the other side, we would have people left and you wouldn't.
Yeah. There's a billion of us. You'd all be dead. You do understand? You're lucky we're not all terrorists. I was like, "Yeah, all right, calm down.
1v1 me, bro.
This is like veering into a threat. You could please stop talking now." And I was like, no, we're all very peaceful people. That's why you're all still alive. I was like, okay,
Thanks.
thanks very much. But it's a valid point. Like if they were all hateful, horrible people, we'd all be dead.
We'd have a very different we'd be having a different conversation. There would be a different if people were trying to go out of their way to impose their religious beliefs in like via the Crusades, we'd be having a very, very different kind of conversation because like that's just a different issue.
Westerners will point at ISIS, as being an example of violent, murderous Muslims, right?
Sure.
But 99% of the people killed by ISIS are Muslims.
Yeah.
So like most Muslims hate them too.
Right. I mean, you could say the same thing about I'm going to point at the Trump Christian nationalists.
Yep.
Yes.
And I'm going to say, and those represent all of Christians. They're all a bunch of hateful people that are trying to overthrow the government. And it's like, well, no, you don't. That's not how it works.
And
so,
but obviously there's more crimes committed by those folks, at least here
black
in America.
People. Yeah, black people,
No, not black people.
Seamus getting him into trouble. Hell yeah.
But,
getting Seamus into trouble.
More than Islamic terrorists,
Oh, the ADL did a historically not particularly kind to Muslims. The ADL they do regular surveys of who the biggest problem in America is, and they did a thing about extremist murders. And like right wing is just this 3/4 of the map, and everything else is divided up between Islamists and left wing people.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess there's also like issues where you go to where you say, all right, well, let's stop looking at America for a minute. Let's put America in the box
Yeah.
And America goes over here. And it's really hard to put America in a box because America keeps leaking everywhere. Like we didn't get the right kind. We need to line the box with we should have lined the box with plastic. And we
with
didn't.
political lead.
And now it's leaking out the
doctor
bottom.
says I need pills for that, but I just don't take it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Was it one of those big pharma commercials?
Yes.
They
Ask your
regard
doctor.
they regard the Americans have a policy they've had since by 1945, since they won the war.
That's right. Don't you forget it.
Called the Manifest Destiny. Well, they had it before that, called the Manifest Destiny, saying it's that they get to go around and tell the South Americans, no, you cannot have democracy. What we need is a dictator who is kind to American interests. And they did that to pretty much every single Central and South American country from 1900, including Cuba. They occupied Cuba 3 times.
Well,
before
I would
Batista
argue,
was in charge.
I would argue it started before that. Old Hickory. What the fuck is Old Hickory's name? Andrew Jackson and the guy that followed him. That whole predestined kind of expansion of the Western Front and that started there because they were trying to pick fights with the Mexicans in Texas, and then look, they shot at us. Time to annex it. You know.
Also,
we have to save them. We have to save them from themselves.
I've been trying to tell people for like the past while who were concerned about right-wing America and theocracy. And I'm like, if you don't want theocracy, go and look at what happened in the Middle East in the 50s. Go look at their politics and what happened, what went down, what changed. If you want to avoid it, because that's a whole nother issue too. If you go ahead and say, well, you know, Muslims are generally peaceful people, great. But if you have a law that's like kill gay people in your theocracy, that's a different problem. Now it might not be the individual. Like, so this is why you got to separate out, like, hey, listen, most Muslims as people are peaceful individuals. However, this theocracy that is their current politics, their political power is very problematic or very violent for whatever reason.
We know Muslims say, well, you could take somewhere like, when you say theocracy, you're probably talking about somewhere like Saudi Arabia, which is run by Wahhabist Salafists, or Iran.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, Iran.
In Iran, it's quite clear what happened in Iran. In Iran, they had a guy in charge of the country called Mossadegh. And he was the president of the first democratically elected government of Iran in history, all the way back to the Persian Empire. And he went to the oil company and said, I'd like to renegotiate your fees, please. And the oil company said no. And there was a whole thing. And it was the Anglo-American Oil Company. They're called BP now, British Petroleum. But they used to be called the Anglo-American Oil Company.
Those guys.
They called in the CIA, who got a guy called Kermit Roosevelt, was his real name. They gave him $1 million, sent him to Iran in 1953, and he turned over the government, handing it over to the Shah, who was the historical king, I guess, Shah, king, right, of Persia. And he ran it as a fascist police state. And he did such a he ran it, the SAVAK was the name of the police force, the secret police, who were rounding up trade unionists, left-wing people, communists. And as long as you keep killing communists, the American government will support you. That's what we know about foreign policy. This is, well, do you have a counterexample?
No, I'm agreeing. I'm shaking my head because
as long as you keep killing communists, the American government thinks you're just fine. Right?
I think that's the current policy too. But
right. So he rounded up communists and started killing them, so America was fine with them. And trade unionists, which is code word, I guess, for communists or whatever. And
pro-labor. That's another one.
Pro-labor. Yeah. In 1979, things got so bad. Now this is quite rare in Iran to have like a match politically between the cities, who would be generally more liberal, and the countryside, which would be more sort of Islamist. But things got so bad that by 1979, in the middle of all these strikes at oil refineries, because of this SAVAK Shah thing, people went to the Ayatollah and said, "Is there anything you can do?" And the Ayatollah said, "Yeah, sure, I can fucking." It took him a while, by the way, it took him a while to get on board, because first of all, he was in jail, and secondly, I don't think he felt like it was his job to do any real political stuff, but he did. And the students were all in favor of him and everything. Like, everybody thought he was great. They had a referendum after that, and the referendum was, should we make Iran an Islamic theocracy? Yeah. It went to a referendum, which was a free and fair referendum. No one was pointing guns at anybody. People voted in favor of an Islamic theocracy.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not like that you got hopped.
Yeah.
What happened was America bollocksed that country for 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened there. And you could say
we've been nice to him ever since. Barry.
Remember, I said that America leaks everywhere.
Yes, that's what I'm talking. No, I'm giving you footnotes to that, yeah. And in the case of Saudi Arabia, I'm not going to do a thing about Saudi Arabia, don't worry. But the thing about Saudi Arabia is if you talk to Muslims about Saudi Arabia, Muslims who are, you get people, of course, who love Saudi Arabia, right? But the left-wing Muslims who don't really like Saudi Arabia, they'll all say the same thing. They'll say, if you don't like Saudi Arabia, then please tell your fucking governments to stop funding them.
Right.
Yeah.
Meaning England and America mostly, but also, surprisingly, perhaps France and Germany and even India. There's nothing worse than a Yemeni child being blown to bits by a bomb, and when you see it, it says made in USA, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like Canada just flies under the radar. Like, I feel like we probably also give money to people,
Yes.
but
you
nobody
support that things, yeah.
notices.
Oh no, we did. Ireland used to give, when Saddam Hussein was in charge of Iraq and murdering Arabs who were who were in the way, Marsh Arabs and Kurds. We were supplying his entire army with beef.
Ah.
We're a big dairy country. You think Ireland is off the hook? No, we were fucking engaged in a moral depravity of supporting that man's army. He was a vicious, horrible, brutal dictator, again supported by America. You know why Saddam Hussein was put in place, by the way? Because he was on the CIA payroll, right? He was an employee of the CIA, and then he went off to lead the Ba'ath Party in Iraq. He was put in place by the CIA specifically to oppose Iran. That's why they kicked off the war around 1979 again, or soon after it. They put all the resources into Saddam Hussein to try and get him to fight against Iran.
Barry talks about this like it's his job.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because it is. No, don't be sorry. This is fantastic.
Calm down, Chomsky.
Yeah. There's a famous photo of Donald Rumsfeld and Saddam Hussein shaking hands on an arms deal. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah, I've seen
it. Yeah,
that
you can see it online. It's wonderful.
around.
Because that's back when he was the good guy. And in the early 1980s, because the Soviets had taken over, they were invited in anyway. Because the Soviets had taken over Afghanistan, the Mujahideen, right, Al-Qaeda, were the good guys.
So here's the question.
The bad guys now?
If we go to people and say, your God isn't real, is that going to change the way we view foreign policy?
No. And the good thing about Muslims is they don't give a shit. They're not going to say anything. They're not going to even argue against you. Right. If you say, Allah is real, most of them, yeah. Of course, you can't say all Muslims for any sentence is correct, like Christians, I guess. You can't say all Christians either.
Sure, yeah.
But if you go up to a Muslim, your average Muslim, and say there's no God, he'll just go, okay. And that'll be the end of it. He won't feel any need to defend himself or attack you or anything. And I long for that kind of peace of mind. I don't have it. I'm constantly worried that what I think is wrong, I think that's how everybody started to be atheist.
Have some faith in yourself.
No, not just some faith in myself, but the absolute certainty that Allah is looking after me. And every good thing I do, every time I give a sandwich to a homeless person, I will be rewarded by Allah in the afterlife.
Is this what's keeping you from being a dictator?
That kind of stuff makes me uncomfortable.
Oh, deeply uncomfortable. But like, I get deeply uncomfortable anytime I come across any absolute certainty of any kind, religious or otherwise. As soon as somebody says, "Oh yeah, I have the key to this. The answer to this is blah," and I'm thinking, "No, it's whatever." I haven't even heard the answer, and the answer is no. Like, do you ever hear of a guy called Robert Sapolsky?
No.
There's a guy called Professor Robert Sapolsky. He's a professor of human behavioral biology. The man's a genius because this has nothing to do with religion, nothing to do with atheism.
Good. This is not American Atheist.
He has a series of lectures he did for Stanford University, right? And they're all on YouTube for free. It's 40 hours, which sounds like a long time, but it's not, okay? What he does is he says...
called? I'm going to put it in the chat.
Yeah. It's called Human Behavioral Biology, Professor Robert Sapolsky, and it's on the Stanford YouTube site. And it's just, I wish everybody would watch all of it in your spare time, have it on in the background. Because what he does is, he says, what causes people to do things, right? And he doesn't mention religion and God really at all during this whole thing.
Right.
He says, now I'm going to give you 3 lectures on psychology. And at the end of that, you're going to think, people are motivated by psychology. Then I'm going to give you another 3 lectures on evolutionary biology. And you're going to think, people are motivated by biology. And then I'm going to give you a lecture on, let's say, what he talks about family dynamics and what your dad was like. Well, that's not really psychology.
Nature versus nurture.
Yeah. He gives 2 lectures on neuroscience, which he's not qualified to do. So he calls in another guy to do the lectures for him. He says, this is too complicated for me. He says, but you have to listen to it. And he goes into the nitty gritty of exactly what happens inside your brain when you have a feeling and a thought and an urge. And he talks about things like acetylcholine. And he talks about things like the amygdala. When you have an emotional reaction to something, what's happening is your brain is firing off different enzymes or there's a word for the things. What do you call those chemicals in your
synapses?
Synapses are the gaps between the nerves. There's a word for the acetylcholine is one of them. They're neurotransmitters. There's different types of neurotransmitters and what they do. And this is, of course...
I was just going to think jargon, like sci-fi jargon.
Yeah,
Got it.
Exactly, yeah. Basically, what you have to do is realign the warp coils and then fix the Heisenberg compensator with the something emitter, proton emitter. Yeah, so that's like that kind of thing. But watch it means nothing, right? A torch is a proton emitter. But go and watch his lectures. And what they tell you is, anybody who tells you that they have the exact final solution for something, first of all, should chill you to your bones if you know anything about German history, the Undlesung. And secondly, they're wrong, always wrong. So when somebody says, look at this serial killer, what happened to the serial killer was he was abused as a child. No, that's one sentence. That doesn't work. What happened to the serial killer is X plus Y plus Z plus whatever. That's what happens.
It's always more complicated than that.
It's always more complicated. Everything is always more complicated. And I'm going to guess deconversion is the same. You don't deconvert because you hear a logical point, right?
That's right. That's another thing that we wanted to talk about. I'm glad you brought it up, is deconversion. And what do any like anti-religion or atheist groups do to even assist in that situation? And I'm finding that not a whole lot of much, which you think would be a huge focus, given that in some religion, again, not all of them, not all churches are monstrous, not all churches are cults, but there are a lot of people who suffer a lot of trauma going from having a group that you're part of and now you're isolated from.
I imagine it's physically painful. I imagine they feel it in their guts as a physical thing. Imagine, I mean, I don't have a social network because I'm deeply asocial, but I imagine like if you're plugged into something and you deal with other humans and you depend on them for communication on a daily basis, to have that ripped away must be absolutely awful.
I want to have a conversation with Barry now about social, like your social, the way you kind of break things down in a way that works in your brain to be like, to describe yourself as deeply antisocial.
The hat has come off.
Yeah, it got hot. It does light up though, so.
Look out.
I feel like I'm in trouble because you took the hat off.
You are.
This is the Chesh equivalent of using the full name. Barry Francis Purcell.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
I can't wear this I wasn't planning on going this long as we are, but I'm glad.
I'm sorry.
I'm glad. No, yeah, well, yes, but it's good.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He does this all the time.
Seamus
has more. No, this is good. This is exactly what I wanted. Don't be sorry. Listen, don't ignore me. It's my show. Stop ignoring me. This is more than what I wanted, because
she's gonna take the hat off again.
I gotta take my glasses off now. I'm serious.
Oh shit.
That's actually what I do. If I'm actually getting into something, I will take my glasses off and start talking like this. But this is more than I hoped it could be, because I wasn't sure what the response was going to be, whether or not what was even having the conversation was going to be valid in the first. Well, I guess it'd always be valid, but like worthwhile, or actually bring anything to the table. But there's so much in like the way history is, and so much in what's gone on politically, and so much that's gone on from like, because we're like the religion ran politics for a very, very long time. There wasn't really, most places were theocracies at one point, if you go far enough back.
Yes. Well, Seamus did a podcast some time ago, a few months ago, about a guy, I forget his name, but Fifield, and exactly. Fifield. And that man was integral to how right-wing Christian politics became embedded in American public government. And it's very interesting to see how it happened. To me, I found it extremely interesting, that podcast, you know.
There's something that I find annoying, and you guys can hop in and tell me if you think the same way, is that people who think that they're smart or smarter than any religious person because they don't believe in a God.
Yeah. It's cock. Absolute cock. Yeah.
I feel like being smart takes effort and work, and I feel like a lot of these people didn't put that work in.
I wonder on Quora.
Francis Collins, how smart is he? Right? You know, Francis Collins. You know, I mean, you could go through a list of people that are, you know, far smarter than the three of us could ever, you know, hope or aspire to be. But then you think, they believe in a God. Got to check them off the list. That's fucking bollocks.
Throw out everything they have to say.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
I wander around Quora annoying people, and there's a lot of atheist questions on Quora. Things like, why do atheists this and why do atheists that? And I try to say very simply one sentence answer to all of them, which is, there is nothing in atheism which prevents somebody from being an asshole. There is nothing within atheism which prevents somebody from being sexist. There's nothing which prevents, depending on what the question is, nothing which prevents them from being stupid.
Right.
Some of the stupidest people I know are atheists. No, that's wrong. But like, I don't see. There's no conflict between. Oh, Chesh, please don't get me started on that. I'm not gonna. No, I've already sent you the message. You need to read about that. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. So, no, a few days ago.
Yes.
So yeah, but there's nothing. I mean, you can be an idiot, and the same way as you can be a genius. Like Ratzinger is a absolute hairy-arsed Roman Catholic, but the man's an intellectual.
Right.
The man loves books and he loves writing things, and the man eats up books and so on, but he's definitely hard Roman Catholic. So if he can be a genius and very religious, like, why can't stupid people be atheists? Why are we trying to gatekeep atheists from morons? And assholes, come, bring me your morons, your assholes, your huddled masses. Atheism welcomes everybody.
Right. But at the same time, doesn't. It's really funny. It's kind of weird that way, where it's
Did
just
you ever
like
get a sexist whack off organized atheism?
a sexist.
Yes, I've been told. I mean, a bounce. I've read things like that. Organized atheism is kind of a little bit, not enough, but a little bit.
I was like, yeah, okay, yep.
Bit of a sausage fest.
Yeah.
Yes. The
like
you've got that. You felt that.
Yeah, like a Rush concert.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. Well, then that's all stuff that I guess isn't very welcoming. You know.
It's no. I found the atheist community incredibly unwelcoming
because of the lady business.
Because of that, egos. There was a lot of egos.
But male egos.
A lot of like the majority of people were men. Yeah, so it was like male egos. Some of it was directed in the women. Well, here, I'll let you on my stream because you're not ugly. It's like, okay, cool, thanks.
You got that bounce off someone?
That was the vibe. That was definitely the vibe. I've definitely had that comment before, for sure, where it's like, you're just here to be pretty. Like, that's not uncommon. And so, and like, I've gotten it as jokes.
Said that to you.
Yes.
Like you with those words.
Yes. This is not uncommon, and it's not even that bizarre.
I'm not exposed to any of this. You see, this is part of what the social justice people refer to as privilege. Is something you enjoy without being aware of it.
I mean, yeah, it's in some cases. It's the Schrodinger's joke, right? It's this is a joke unless you take but I'm being serious. Like, I'm being serious unless you get offended. Then it was just a joke.
Like, I do make jokes like that, but I hope people take them as jokes.
Well, and in some cases they are. So in some cases they are just earnest jokes, and in some cases, like, it gets overwhelming where you've heard it enough times that it's like, who's kidding and who's not? Or
Seamus will tell you, I've said some genuinely horrific things on Seamus's podcast.
Yes,
and I hope, I sincerely hope nobody takes any of that seriously. Seamus, you know what I'm talking about there.
Yes, I do.
It's definitely like a matter of presentation. There's a difference between when you have a show that is being presented in a way that has a level of comedy and you're presenting it outwards as that sort of situation. It's another thing when somebody says it to you in private when it's just the two of you. It's like it changes the context a little bit.
That's disturbing.
It's not that unusual. I
didn't say whether it was usual or not. I said it's disturbing. I said it's disturbing. And
yeah.
Oh, wow. I hear these things every so often, and every time I hear them, I always get shocked. I know I shouldn't, because like you said, but anyway, go on.
I worked factory, right? And so I spent a lot of time around a lot of men who would very much treat you differently depending on how you acted. So if I wore something different that day, the whole behavior of all the people around me would like switch on a dime. So depending on how you talk, right? So there were men that I would work with where if you just took like an additional little second out of your day to be like, oh, hey, how are you? How you doing? They will just tell you their entire life story because they just don't get to talk to women outside of the workplace, or even very many women in the workplace,
or men,
or anybody. Yeah, they're just feel isolated, and so you take time to be a little bit nice to them, and they just latch onto you like they're like you're gonna pull their leg off. Like they're just like, no, you can talk to me.
And now you're protected.
You were nice to some incels. That's nice of you.
Well, I don't know if that was the case.
No. Now you're protected.
Most of them
just
were
being an ass. I'm sorry.
Most of them were older married men.
Yeah.
Right. So younger woman pays attention to older man.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Don't need to make it personal.
Sorry. But like it's interesting, like the way that switches, where they'll be snooty to you until you be a little bit extra nice to them, and then it's all fucking roses.
Oh, I have the opposite thing.
But then if you don't be nice to them again the next day, it's like,
okay.
Well, look the fuck out.
If a younger woman is nicer to me, I'm like, okay, who put you up to this? How much are they paying you? I'll double it to leave me alone.
I mean, if you're that antisocial. Helios 5 said, how many times have people refused to talk to you directly, Chesh, but talk to your male co-host? I remember a few times where that was basically a trope. Oh, yeah. Oh, all the time. Wow. I'm so used to being condescended to that I don't even notice it most of the time.
That's pronounced condescended.
Condescended? What did I say?
That's a joke.
Oh, okay.
He's mansplaining.
I don't even notice.
No, I was condescending to you about the word condescension. That's the joke. Sorry, I do not take that seriously. It's pronounced condescended. No, okay. So
that's what I mean. I don't even notice it.
That's the best. That's the best way to deal, I think, with any of these things. Is just say, okay, just let it wash over you.
Oh, I mean, it's such a one. I gotta say, one of my favorite ones is David Smalley was probably my favorite interaction that I ever had with like a big atheist podcast YouTube radio guy, because I was trying to explain to him that there was a problem between point A and point B, and I think I was talking about separating out the idea of criticizing religion and having the conversation about whether or not God exists.
Right.
Like, these are two different things. And his response to me was like, have you ever been in a debate, though? I was like, what?
What was he expecting to happen? Like, what did he want to happen as a result of that question?
I have no idea.
I know I've seen people get into like conversations that they clearly regard as some sort of, they have a victory condition.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I used to do that because I could win any conversation with anybody. Like, I was good at it. But I don't like it because it turns you into a horrible person.
It loses its luster after a while. I used to do that.
I just want to talk to people now. I want to see what they're thinking and why. I don't want to say, like, I'm right and here's why. I used to be like that. I was a cunt.
On the other hand, though, I also got to talk to Randall Rouser, who's a Christian apologist.
Rouser
the conversation with him was amazing compared to the conversation with Smalley.
Okay.
Smalley was arrogant, egotistical, condescending, came off a little bit sexist, didn't listen, could not have the level of conversation that he agreed to have before he came on.
Can I ask,
Randall was wonderful to talk to.
Is David Smalley his real name, or is that just what women call him?
Both?
Okay.
Dogma Debate. That's what his main show, right?
And Randall Rouser's all right.
Yeah, he was one of the first guys that me and John had issues with back in the day.
Yes.
Randall or Smalley?
Smalley.
Oh, okay.
So, because we kind of shit on him for his so-called debate with Robert M. Price, because Price was pro-Trump in 2016. Yeah. But he was, at that point, he was more anti-Clinton than he was pro-Trump, okay?
Sure.
Definitely a conservative guy. But instead of having that conversation of two atheists talking about the situation and looking at different nuances of it, it was just like a shit show of just like any other political discord. It just went to shit.
Well, that was what was this blew my mind when we were talking to Smalley.
Yeah.
When we were talking to Smalley, at one point we worked around. I worked around the conversation to get him to admit openly that he did not like telling people that he didn't believe a God existed and preferred to say that what's the other one? It's God. I don't believe God exists versus I don't have a lack of belief in God. That whole fucking discussion.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't like saying that because I like to have a foot up on atheists or on other theists. And it's like, why do you need a foot? Why are you lying to people?
Right.
To get them to come onto your show, pretending that you're being nice to them so you can feed your superiority complex? Like, this is so bizarre. Like,
seems counterintuitive, doesn't it?
Well, but what has led to this kind of idea? And it's a call. It's an atheist call-in show. So I don't know why there's this.
There's insecurity. It must be an insecurity.
It has to be. But look at how many there are. There's so many atheist shows, and their whole shtick is to like jerk off their own ego. And it's like, what is atheism doing that's enabling and bringing this to the forefront of?
Maybe it's like gun people, right? When you see a guy in America in a Texas supermarket and he's got a rifle strapped to his chest or whatever, right? He thinks he's broadcasting security and confidence, and he's actually broadcasting fear and desperation. And he thinks he's broadcasting the opposite. And maybe that's what's happening with these atheist call-in shows. They think they're broadcasting confidence, and they're actually broadcasting fear. And these people are anybody who goes to a supermarket with a gun strapped to his chest is absolutely terrified.
Bearded Heretic. I had a conversation about guns. You guys should go watch that over there.
Cool.
Am I in trouble?
No. You make a good point. Bearded Heretic also brings up Randolph Richardson, the guy who's got the Canadian Atheists
in the 7-Eleven.
International in the 7-Eleven.
Yeah, Randolph. But he's still old school. He'll track people down on Twitter and just keep going at them, saying yes, but this, yes, but that. But I mean, I can't complain about somebody who's stuck in 2010, can I?
Yes, you can.
I'm stuck in 1993.
Yeah, can we go back? How much fun would it be to watch like Hitchens talk to Dillahunty and just look at the disparagement?
It would be painful. I wouldn't get any pleasure from that. I don't want Dillahunty to hurt. I just want him to shut up. I don't want him to experience pain, you know?
I think that's something that like it's better to imagine than to have actually happened.
Yes. Well, you know, Dawkins stopped debating creationists a long time ago because he said he figured out what they were doing. They weren't actually interested in debating him at all.
Yeah.
He figured out, and it's like that. It was like that during the Irish debates as well. Right-wing religious people will debate you not because they're interested in having a debate or not because they're interested even in it. What they want to do is they want to have themselves positioned as the alternative position in an ideology.
Yeah.
That to them is the victory. As soon as the light goes on the first second of it, they've won. There's nothing you can say that will take away their victory. That's why they all seem so delighted when they lose. And obviously, they lose their debates because they have a bunch of stupid points. They always lose their debates, and they always seem so happy about it, you know? It goes back to the community saying, yeah, I just see me on with Richard Dawkins. Yeah, I did, yeah. And now it's like 50-50. That's the way the human brain works. When you see a guy on the left and a guy on the right, like, I mean, the physical space in a stage, you're going to think, oh, yeah, this, now this, now this, now this.
Right.
It's just bullshit. These guys have won already as soon as you just roll them on.
I've also heard that Dawkins moved away because he didn't like the direction the atheist movement was going in. He was like, nah, I got to get away from this because it's no longer what they had initially worked on and they had intended.
Yeah, that is true. But he stopped debating creationists for that reason.
Yeah.
He didn't want them being positioned as an alternative way of looking at things because it's not. It's just wrong.
Yeah.
You know, and he didn't want to. He wasn't interested in that. And that's something I've become more aware of as well.
Yeah, Rodent makes a good point, like Ken Ham and Bill Nye. Yeah, that was not a victory for atheism. It was interesting to watch, but it wasn't. Bill Nye's not a debater, so it was very bizarre and like it's still worthwhile to watch just for the. There's a lot you can pull from it, in my opinion.
There's a guy in your chat, and I can't tell if he said what's wrong with Matt, and I can't say if he's saying it in the character of Garak, which is itself the comment, or whether he actually wants to know what's wrong with Matt. Because if he's saying it, what's wrong with Matt? The way Garak would say it, it's like, yeah, exactly. That's where we are as well. But if he's actually asking, then that's a whole other thing.
Well, we can catch up. So yeah, let us know in the chat. If you have questions, please tag me. That will make it easier for me to see it. I don't do the whole, oh, you have to super chat to ask a question. I don't care.
I didn't even know what super chat was until I saw that when you did, Chesh.
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea what it was. What she kept on talking about super chats. What super chats? And then I saw these blown up things. How did that? Oh, you just pay money. Oh, okay, cool. I get it.
Yeah.
Cool,
It helps support the channel. Helps keep my dog fed. I
Good.
don't know where my dog is actually right now.
That's more lies. There's no dog. Okay, carry on. You
You
wouldn't let a
say
little
that-
dog die, would you?
You said little. Oh, buddy, you're
I've seen
missing
the dog.
out.
I've seen the dog. Yeah.
A dog is as tall as I am.
Wow.
If we want to talk about deconversion, because we kind of touched on it a little bit and then veered off because that's the kind of show
Yes.
this is. I'm not a fan of the way the atheist experience, the way the ACA and the way AII handles people coming out. I think that their outreach is not. I hesitate to call it predatory, but it kind of comes off a little bit like we're
Explain.
taking advantage. So, like, we know we're going to berate people for being stupid. Then, people who are vulnerable, we're going to take them and then we're going to shove new dogma instead of actually deconverting them out of dogma and then letting them decide. We're just going to take your dogma and we're going to take it out and we're going to pop in a new one.
Like, what's the new one?
The political stuff, that's a lot of the political stuff that the ACA pushes. We're smarter than you are.
Yeah.
Toe the atheist line.
Okay,
if
but
you know what I
the,
mean.
the difficulty with deconversion is particularly this is something that happens in cults. Is when
Yes.
someone comes out of a cult, there's a fucking 85% chance they'll sign up to another one
Yeah.
the following weekend because they say, "Oh yeah, this cult is total bullshit," but they still have all the structures in their head. The "I need authority to tell me what to do" type structures.
Katie Holmes left Scientology, and then she's
Yep.
like, "Oh, I'm so glad I found a safe home where I'm not being forced to do anything in the Catholic Church."
Yeah. All
Really?
right.
Yeah.
You leave Katie Holmes the hell alone.
She's been through enough.
Right.
She's
Tom
got a
Cruise,
nose
I know.
ring. She's got a nose ring.
I know.
I did have
that's-
Chris
yeah, okay.
Shelton on, and we went through
I saw that.
Scientology and cults and
That
on
was
a lot
great,
of that stuff.
yeah.
Thank you. But there's certainly a risk there, and I agree with that. But I don't think the ACA, who's doing all this atheist outreach stuff,
Right.
is doing anything to prevent that, and they're just substituting
enough.
one thing for
Okay,
another.
what do we do then?
That's a question. So what
Well,
is there a better way to approach deconversion? And I think that honestly there is, but you have to not be lazy. It's definitely, you have to take a lot of time and you have to be very, very careful about your general approach. But Res Instance for 100 Australian, because he likes to pay my bills.
That's
said
5
that this is
American.
what
Thanks.
this is what a super chat is. That's okay. I'm Canadian, so it's still
Well,
It's
what
like, oh, it's 100 Canadian. Okay, cool.
I mean,
5 American.
recovery from a religion. I mean, they get people connected to therapists and such, right? So I mean,
right.
it's got to be.
Well, you could farm it out, yeah. Psychotherapy is
yeah.
non-denominational. You could farm out the whole operation to psychotherapists.
And there's certainly I don't think, maybe it's not, in my opinion, not talked about enough.
Sure.
They're
Well,
using it as a
psychotherapy-
political machine instead of
Yes.
saying, okay, we want to. Okay, if you're coming out of a religion, here are resources, here
Yeah.
are this, here are that. But I just don't see that being supported in these.
A psychotherapist
Groups.
cannot give you a social network.
Right.
They can't give you a support network. So what are these people supposed to do if they come out of a cult and their whole social and support network is the guy in the white dress who's banging all the ladies in the commune? Now,
Right.
when you come out, what are you supposed to do? You talk to a therapist, so your mentality is fine, but you have no support. How do you make friends? That's just a question.
Right. And are you really making friends if you're like, hey, we're friends with you if you toe the line?
Right.
That's kind of a religion.
Oh, dogma in the atheist community. You don't say. Strange.
Yeah, that's not cool.
Yeah, my mind was blown away about the community shortly after we started the podcast because we had she goes by poor old Kilgore.
Oh,
on,
I know her.
Twitter, right? And she likes to pose. And
She has the tits, yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, she does.
Good for her.
And what her profile picture was that.
Mhm.
And at that point, every time we had somebody as a guest, we put the profile picture up, as part of the thumbnail, whatever. And I started sharing it on social media, and everybody was like, "Oh yeah, I'm sure she has a lot of smart things to say and stuff like that." And I'm like, I was like, Jesus Christ, I was always a hit.
Boobs.
Yeah, I was always kind of the hippie in my head before I got sucked into fundamentalism. And coming out, I was like, oh man, this is, my land, right? People are not going to judge. Where everybody's going to be free and all this fun stuff. And boom. I'm like, what the actual fuck?
Surprise!
Yeah.
Sausage fests.
Exactly.
So, we got 2 questions. I want to address Silk's first. It's not a stupid question, but are there any atheist churches? I mean, there is the Satanism church, which is probably one of the closest ones you're going to find in America at the very least. But
saying an atheist church is kind of nonsensical.
I mean, that's what we're doing here. Do I need to put the hat back on?
If you put the hat back on, then I'm going to get whimsical again.
Oh, okay. We can't have that because the next question.
No whimsy.
They have like secular, what do you call it? Like get-ups or meetings that are kind of like to take place of it. I can't remember what the term is. We actually talked about this on the show once. That people will do to kind of take place of the church, but it's still very flawed because all you end up doing is repeating the same thing.
Well, if there's like, let's say there might be like when I went to college, it was great because there was all these clubs and and if you go to a photography club, like that could be an atheist thing. Why not?
Yeah,
like,
it could be secular.
It's whether you believe in God or not is irrelevant.
Exactly.
I just like taking photos, and you'll meet other people who like taking photos, and maybe that can be the thing.
Yeah.
Are you a Fuji or are you a Kodak? Which are you?
Kodak out. Nice try, loser.
Yeah.
We're sick of you people.
Canons all the way.
Yeah, that's it.
Click,
With your
motherfuckers.
camera of choice, Nikon P1000. And the other question was, and I'll let one of you guys cover it. I feel like maybe the free thought prophet down there. What is the problem with Matt Dillahunty?
Oh, geez, where to begin? Honestly, the biggest problem with Matt Dillahunty is Matt Dillahunty himself. He's not an unintelligent guy. He has some things that I think are positive to say, but the thing is, he's so goddamn full of himself. He has to make every goddamn thing about himself. And because of it, he thinks that he's an authority, even though he says, well, I'm not an authority. But let me tell you why what I say is right and you're all fucking wrong about every goddamn thing. And then he gets himself in trouble by saying really stupid things like pedophiles are okay. They're good people. Maybe that's unfair, but you know what I mean. So, well, one of you knows what I mean. So.
I know what you're talking about. I looked at that and I was like, that is a conversation that people are not ready to be having right now.
Right? Yeah. Red flags, red flags.
Time and place, my dude. Time and place.
Yeah.
Tact is a thing. And you will notice that people who have large egos have no tact because they're not paying attention to anything happening around them.
Yeah, and he's bullied literally everybody that's been involved in that organization. I mean, how many people in the last year, speaking of organizations, right, that are just, up and leaving and...
Do you mean the ACA?
Yes, just leaving these giant blogs and tweets about, I had to leave and it was because of Matt. There's a lot of other things that haven't made light yet. I'm not going to say because legal reasons.
I'm still working on the comedy skit I said I'd do for you, Seamus.
Yeah.
I'm doing a little comedy thing about Matt Dillahunty. Very short little 2-minute thing.
Helios5 says super chats are primarily used to troll Chesh by forcing her to say things like, I wish I had Kyle's hair, but I had to settle for Karen's. I really hope that gets clipped. I'm not going to lie. That's hilarious. The update to the question about an atheist church is, what is a church and can there ever be an atheist one?
Oof.
I don't know if, church in the traditional sense, it would be, would there ever be traditions that atheists like to get together and do that are exclusive to atheists? And I would suspect not.
I can't think of anything. Particularly because, you could nearly get away with it maybe in Western countries, but not all over the world. A Muslim's experience of atheism will be dramatically different.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Deconversion December. I don't know.
Where we go and encourage all our friends to leave the churches.
I guess you could share stories about how you're dealing with... There are things that atheists have in common, sure.
A lot of atheists don't even care about that. They don't care. They don't want to deconvert anyone. They just want to be left alone.
Right. Right.
I'm happy if everybody's Christian around me as long as they leave me alone,
It's this is odd fundamentalism that's kind of moved into the atheist communities, I guess. That's like, no, we need to do outreach. And it's like...
How is that manifest? Would you like to join my photography club?
Yeah.
Come be an atheist. Join our political group that's about not having religion in politics while we talk about people's religious views in politics.
Well, the problem with that is there's also a lot of, we'll say, like, there was, do you remember the Atheism Plus thing?
Yeah.
That was genuinely awful. It was like, okay, atheism plus feminism plus anti-racism plus all this stuff, and it's, you know, on the face of it, it sounds good, but it's a terrible idea.
Well, that's what kind of you have right now with the ACA and other groups.
Yeah, but you can do all that without Christians can do that.
Yeah.
Muslims can do that. Muslims can push all these things as well.
I mean, you know, we were talking, you know, about the American Atheists, that the organization itself. If you look at all of their social media stuff. Nick Fish in particular, which, by the way, guys, if you don't know who that is, that's the president of American Atheists. Although he thinks everybody knows him and knows that he's the president. Anyways,
did you say Nick Fish?
That's his name. Yeah. If you look at his social media and their social media, pretty much 90% are just tweets about Trump. Okay.
Oh no.
And that has nothing to do with what's going on. No. You know, you should attack the problem. He's a symptom of the problem if you want to talk about Christian nationalism or any of that stuff. Okay, him directly himself is not the fucking problem.
Yeah, you're playing Putin's game there. You're doing that's what Putin wants you to do. Putin wants you to talk about Trump all the time.
Great. Now Putin's controlling the atheist communities in America.
There you go.
Did you see what happened in Houston, Texas?
Which time?
With this Putin thing.
Which one?
Before Trump was elected, there was a Facebook group that said Houston people against Trump or whatever, and there was another one saying Houston people for Trump, and they all had about a few hundred members each, and they arranged to have like a meeting or something. They spent an afternoon trashing each other in a car park lot, just shouting abuse at each other and so on. And it turned out both groups were entirely run by Russian bots from Moscow.
This is like the most Texas thing ever.
And you're trying the Russians were literally controlling.
Did
Texas.
Anybody get shot?
No.
Not the most Texas thing ever.
Yeah,
they have a barbecue.
What's with the tone of disappointment? Did anyone get shot? No.
Oh, Texas.
Well, you know,
are you so jaded?
Yes.
What happened in your life?
Do you want to know? We can have a conversation.
Yeah.
No, please don't scare me. I've seen the movie.
So...
I know how it ends. No.
Welcome. So, okay, I don't, clearly doing an all atheist get together is not really going to be a thing. That's not going to be a thing that functions.
We all secretly hate each other, yeah.
Yeah, that's not going to work. And getting together over political things also not going to work, because not believing God and your belief in God has literally nothing to do with your politics. Dogma and religion might. But the God, whether you actually, an individual believes in a God or not.
Sure.
So if atheists spend more time, in my opinion, maybe going a little bit back to the grassroots of, let's talk about why religion and organized religion in particular are problematic in these areas, they'd make more progress, particularly in a political center. However, I do think that it would be beneficial, or is realistic and doable, to have something that's like, hey, listen, here's a space where people who are already atheists have agreed to, we're not talking about politics here. We're not talking about this is not controversial topics. We're talking about games. We're talking about photography. We're talking about hobbies and interests. And here is a Discord. This is like a deconversion Discord. You don't have friends because you're struggling. You don't know. We don't actually even talk about our atheist beliefs here, or debate, or any of that here. We just talk about fun shit. If you want to find a community, you join this Discord. Here's all the different topics and all the different subheadings that are in this, all organized that way, and then you can go and look and see who you're interested in talking to and go make some friends.
But you can do that without, not shitting on your idea, but you can do that without any deconversion ideology.
Oh, what? You mean you could just make some cool, fun club that is just open for people?
Yeah.
With a little bit of additional sensitivity to leaving politics and leaving religion out of it, meaning that even theists could join and you could lead by fucking example?
Would there be a lot of those already like that, wouldn't there?
Would there be?
Oh shit! Oh,
You
there
would
be?
think this would be like
Shit,
the
you're-
first shit that would come to mind if you're looking to help
Your-
people who are
Your
getting
voice
out of
dropped
religion.
an octave there. That was disturbing.
Yeah,
Would
you
there
know what?
be?
Because the most important trick, if you would want to say is a trick, right? That the churches do is it's welcome to everybody, right?
Mm.
So,
But I would imagine
just saying.
there's fairly hobby-specific discords out there that would have no time for political stuff, or they'd hive off all the political stuff to the politics thing, and nobody ever goes in there.
There certainly would, but what I'm talking about is accessibility.
Go on.
So if you get all the atheist groups being like, hey, listen, whether we agree politically or don't agree politically, and whether or not we're talking about religion on our shows is not relevant. Here's a Discord link that you can go to that if you're deconverting,
Okay.
you need to make friends. Here's where you can go, instead of people having to come
You
out
think
of something and be like, where the fuck do I go? What? I don't even know what I'm interested in.
So you're saying these things should be hosted by atheist organizations?
Or I don't give a shit who hosts it, as long as they're not an asshole.
Well, that's me out.
I just think that this should be something that atheist organizations ought to be doing, because it would
Yes.
be beneficial to them.
Yeah, generally the focus of atheist organizations, I think, is we were
Not.
talking to Shirley about that before. Do you remember, Seamus?
Mm.
And she was outlining a vision for where atheist organizations in the Americas and presumably all over the world need to go and need to be. And it was just completely different to what my understanding of an atheist organization is. And it was just wonderful hearing it. She was like, get rid of anybody, get rid of them. And here's what you do: go to the people who are part of your organization and say, what do you need? And then set up the structures to give it to them.
Right.
I was like, okay, yeah, that's what we used to call democracy. Whereas now we got to have a bunch of middle-aged, straight white men. Yeah, Seamus.
I know.
Right.
We're part of the problem.
I know, yeah. Telling middle-aged straight white guys telling people that this is what you need.
Some milk toast motherfucker down there.
Some pale as fucking shit bastard in Ireland it's 30 degrees these days, and this is not normally how he dresses, but it's really hot here. So this is
He got dressed up special for church.
Let's
just say that. I got dressed up special for church. Why is there can you see the duck?
The duck? Yeah, StreamYard.
Oh,
that's on the screen. That's on the screen. Never mind. Right, yeah.
It's on your wall behind you.
I was wondering, good lord, what?
Yeah, we're actually in vMix, but we're also actually in StreamYards, but we're also actually on YouTube. We've got some meta shit going on.
I'm techno stupid. I can't follow up half of these things.
I figured out a fancy way to do this today, just because I wanted the option for what we got going on with this little triangle here, our upside down Illuminati triangle.
Do you remember you said you know what I find annoying?
Yeah.
You said something. You know what I find annoying is in a karaoke place when people can hold a tune.
Oh,
Right?
well, I guess I'm not allowed going to karaoke anymore.
Can you sing?
No.
Well, then you're fine.
I
It's
bet
irritating
you-
when people can hold a tune. When they can hold a tune, it's irritating. I go there to watch people make fools of themselves and go off key.
I also do that. I love karaoke. I used to run karaoke.
Did you?
Nice.
And when
Yes.
people could sing, were you like, oh, fuck?
No, okay, so interestingly enough, the bar that I frequented when I ran karaoke actually had, because it was a university town, but it was a university town that had a large music department. A lot of the people who came to the bar were people who had some degree of music. So you'd get two groups. You would get the Friday night fucking, like, even if we could sing, we're not. We're just fucking hooting and hollering and having a grand old time.
Yes.
And everybody's off tune, or some people are on and some people are off, and they're singing as groups. And then the other nights you would have like the off nights, which would be like maybe a Sunday or a Tuesday.
Yeah.
And then you would get like people who are doing this to help them practice
Fools.
perform and do other shit. So
Yeah.
it ended up being a really good time, to the point where I think they ended up introducing, before the bar closed, they ended up introducing like a live karaoke, because there were enough talented musicians in the area. They were able to pull in like live musicians and do live karaoke shows.
That's kind of cool.
It was a lot of fun.
I heard Canadian karaoke is just all Neil Young,
And nothing wrong with that.
with the occasional William Shatner Rocket Man dropped in.
Hey, that's
Rocket
gold.
Man. I would love to karaoke like spoken word stuff just to fuck with people. You know?
Do it.
Like
Do it.
the whole Bob Dylan thing, you know? Just do it like, I was like, what the fuck? It's karaoke. Fuck off. Fuck all y'all. Anyway, that's why I'm asocial.
What's the just pick something that's a super mumble.
Oh, well, he did a version of "It Ain't Me, Babe" in 1984, and he was getting reviews, Bob Dylan at the time, where he said your voice goes up and down too much, so he did it even worse. It's like, "Oh, in the night, babe, everybody hears, it ain't me, babe." It was like, it was just fucking amazing. Just like I listened to that over and over again, like Bob Dylan telling his audience and his record company and all his critics, "Fuck off." I love it. Neil Young did that when he released Trans, in 1982. Yeah. He basically that's "fuck you, David Geffen. Fuck you," signed Neil Young. And David Geffen's like, "I will sue you," and he did, and he lost the case. Oh, it was so good. I love Neil Young so much. Anyway, yeah.
Barry's got so much information in his brain.
I'm sorry. Oh God, am I doing it again?
Yeah, although I'm not keen on the whole Spotify thing with him. I thought that was like the most.
Oh, the Neil Young Spotify Joe versus
that was
Joe
so
Rogan thing?
stupid.
I
That was so
talked
funny.
about that. That was bizarre.
Neil Young. Neil Young can do what he wants.
I love Neil Young too. I mean, he's probably top. He'd definitely be number 3 as far as like island music.
Don't let him hear you say that. Top 3.
Oh, fuck him. I don't care. But
I think that what he did was kind of ballsy and maybe a little bit on the. You might have overstepped what you think you can get away with, dude.
Okay, wait a minute. So he only did it because he didn't like what Joe Rogan was saying.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, but he had no problem signing a contract with Amazon, whatever they were having all these labor practices issues. You know what I mean? It's like his whole mind is warped and has changed since he's gone to Hollywood. He talks about Biden like Biden's the greatest thing.
No, it's not Hollywood. It's since he went. It's since he went Daryl Hannah.
That's what I mean. Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
But his music is still great. That the songs are still kick-ass.
I don't know.
What do you mean? Fuck you! Fuck you!
His old stuff, yes. But
shut the fuck up! Don't you? Neil Young is a fucking treasure. All right, he's the only one of these '60s people who's still releasing music that's vital and interesting and really good. Did you know this Illinois? No,
Monsanto.
That's one album.
No, every fucking album he brings it up.
No, have you heard
okay, we heard you. It's okay.
Did you hear Illinois? The Jack White produced one that Daniel Lamont produced.
No.
Jack White did. Yeah, of course you didn't, because fuck you, Seamus. Neil Young's amazing. Everything he does is amazing. He built his own car. What have you done?
So I'd like to point out and just let everybody know that there's actually a dumpster fire emote for members of this chat. So if you happen to become a member, feel free to drop a dumpster fire.
I see it now. Thank you. That's great.
Sorry, yeah, I do get involved.
No, this is a debate hub topic as far as I'm concerned.
Okay,
I got a whole nother show for this kind of shit.
I do start shouting and screaming sometimes, but I'm never angry or anything, There's no genuine ill feeling behind anything I say.
I think that's something that is actually dangerous dogma. Back to our topic for atheism.
What's dangerous dogma for atheism? They're saying Neil Young's not amazing.
Logic and reason and emotion is removed.
Oh, yes. Now, again, I would have been, because I'm fucking weapons grade autistic, I would have been fine with logic and reason, right? I have weapons grade autism.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I have weapons grade autism. I'm not diagnosed or anything, but it's the only conclusion I can come to. So I would have been all like logic and reason, right? And I would get like upset that people weren't getting it.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out I was the one who wasn't getting it all along. And people can believe whatever the fuck they want,
I think there's something that gets ignored, and I think it's illogical and unreasonable to expect people or groups or anybody, including yourself, to be able to remove emotion from the human condition.
Not just that, but it's an essential part of it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I went to psychotherapy after. This is good, really deep, right? Here we go. I went to psychotherapy after my second marriage fell apart, right? And I know, right?
Stopped.
I know, it stopped. That's pretty much, from my point of view, it stopped one day, right?
It ceased to be.
It ceased to be. And I was really upset. And I thought I was going to be that upset forever, right? So I went to a psychotherapist and she said, this and this and this. And I said, I don't like this thing about like feeling sad about things and having emotions. It's annoying me, And she said, but like, has this never happened to you before? I said, no, I've never felt sad about anything in my life. And she said, then this is really fine. You're supposed to feel sad about these things. Don't worry about it. Like, you're okay. I said, yeah, but I need to go to the shops and do things. I can't go to like a cashier and break down into tears in front of someone just because I want to buy some eggs. And she said, yeah, well, let's just talk about this and so on. And she was really good and that fixed it. But since I went to the therapy, she's right. An emotional thing it's not a defect in an argument. It's how we live as people.
In a debate, appealing to emotion is generally considered bad form, but is not inherently wrong. There are appropriate and proper ways to do it. Every conversation on Twitter you're having is not a fucking debate.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell people how I feel. Like, I'll say it to them. I'll say, I feel bad about this, you know? Like, I'll say, don't I say that, Seamus, all the time? I say, all the time. I say, I feel bad about this, or it makes me feel sad. I say it directly instead of trying to hint at things, you know? That's not logical. I feel sad isn't logic, but I'll still bring it up when we're having discussions like this.
But I also think it's also important to acknowledge that we're all guilty of everything that we've just discussed as far as those kinds of, interactions, especially on Twitter and
it's a disgusting thing. To think you're above it is to think you're never make an exception of yourself. It's dangerous. You're not above anything. None of us are above anything. That's another thing. Somebody on Quora said, "Oh yeah, you're saying all these things, and I suppose you never do these things." I said, "No, I do them all the time. That's what are you talking about? Like,
that's why I know."
Yeah, I'm not saying. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm berating myself when I type these things. You know, be better. All the time, all of us can just have that voice in the back of our heads.
Well,
the whole
and
time,
that's something that the atheist community also doesn't focus on, because you don't believe you're already better. And it's like, no. Being an atheist doesn't make you a good person. Being an atheist doesn't make you a better person. It doesn't make you a smarter person. That shit takes work. And in a lot of religion's defense, they spend a lot of time telling people to be better people. Now, are their methods good, or are they right about what a good person is?
Yes, they do.
Different question. But they spend a whole lot of time trying to help the people around them be better people, in their opinion.
You know what can help that as well is I have the pen of instruction to stop that. The philosophy.
I got a lighter.
I think kids should learn philosophy in school.
Yes,
not just critical thinking skills, but Socrates would have been the first guy I'm aware of who asked the question, well, what does it mean to be a good person?
Right.
And you have to ask yourself that question the whole time, and you will be a constant process of different grades of failure.
Wait a minute. I thought all atheism came from philosophy, or actually all philosophy came from atheism, right? I mean, again.
No! Don't do this to me! How could you?
Wait a second. Here we go. Well,
philosophy pants.
Well, there was a bunch of philosophers before Socrates, but they weren't really interested in moral philosophy. They were just talking about how to put together a vision for the world that doesn't involve religion. That would have been the first stirrings of Western philosophy, is how to explain stuff without reference to the gods. So people like Thales and Parmenides and Anaximander, and I guess Pythagoras, all these guys would have been before Socrates. But Socrates was the first person to say, the pen again, Christ almighty, who do I think I am? What does it mean to be a good person?
I've got a sand monkey.
That's a gorilla.
Is it?
What the fuck? What's with the silence? Awkward
silence.
Oh no, I'm feeling nervous. What's going on?
I'm waiting for it to stop. Okay. It was something weirdly entrancing and also kind of menacing.
because you're like that. You're that. What's the audio file thing? Yeah, that's it. Because he's one of those people.
There's a menacing tinge to that. Like you have a lock of my hair inside it or something.
It's a voodoo doll.
Yeah.
So, she was just taking the pens out before the show, so yeah.
They'll go back in again. Don't worry. They always go back in. So yes, Socrates was the first guy to say that, and people give Socrates, they don't like Socrates because he came up with all the right answers, but he was the first person.
You prefer Diogenes, right?
Doesn't everyone?
Yeah, but that's a shot at Barry.
We.
No, we're not gonna go there.
This is Chesh's show, and I think we should respect that.
We're gonna have a new. All right, next debate hub topic. Who's the best philosopher?
But it's like Sigmund Freud as well. Sigmund Freud was wrong about everything, but the reason we value his contribution to society is because he asked all the right questions. Right. For the first time, is there any way we can talk to women in a way that we won't have to lock them up in an asylum every time they get hysterical?
And his nephew created propaganda in the news, so we have to like him. So.
Pretty sure he didn't.
Okay.
So
he weaponized sex in commercials and stuff.
Oh, did he?
Mm-hmm.
Fun, of course.
Yeah. Sorry.
So you're saying Socrates Ask the right question.
Yeah. What does it mean to be a good person? Now, he came up with the answer, of course, that's to do with being an Athenian and all that kind of stuff, right? But in a general sense, wouldn't it be nice if people asked themselves, like, why did I do this? Is this the right thing for me to do? Can I do better? You know?
I do this to people when I play League of Legends all the time.
That's a computer game.
Yes, it is a online RT. No, it's not a real time. It's kind of an RTS. Whatever. Point is that you're on a team with 5 people that you don't know, or you brought your friends.
No, I'm out.
Right? Or you brought your friends. But when I'm playing with friends and we're playing and we are playing more seriously, I will watch I will say, hey, look out over here. Hey, look out over here. Hey, look out over here. And then they'll do something. They'll die. And I'll say, what did you learn? Why were you there? What decision making? And I'm not trying to berate them as in like, I'm telling you you're wrong. I am actually asking you, why did you decide to walk forward down in this direction at that moment in time? Like, what made you decide this was a good idea? And most of the time is, I wasn't thinking about it. I'm like, that's not how this game works.
Yes. I do that to myself all the time. Why do you think that? Why did you say that? You know?
And these are things that I think parents ought to be doing at home. But yeah, having philosophy class all the way from like kindergarten all the way through, I think would be valuable.
There's a strong human difficulty when it comes to challenging your own opinions. Where our mentality is built up around the fact that you can rely on your own opinions. And everything we do is informed by the fact that, oh, well, this is something I'm doing. It's like it's all very basic stuff, but our opinions are wrong all the time. And I think if like we trained people in how philosophy works from a very young age, that would be easier to understand. And people would be less disinclined to say, yeah, I'm wrong about that.
Oh, people don't think philosophy is relevant because they don't know what it is.
That's very, very true.
I know they're afraid. They think it's highfalutin and so on. But even like
well, they think of the guy in the coat sitting with his like pipe, thinking about thinking, and it's like, okay, well, you can get into those kinds of conversations in philosophy where you jump the shark so far that you're just like, now we're just, do you know what knowing is? So do you what thinking is? I don't know. And that's fine. It's okay to have those conversations at that level, but that's what everybody thinks philosophy in totality is. Well, I shouldn't say everybody, but a large portion.
I also think that the guys who are renowned for being very difficult and complicated, people like Martin Heidegger or Jacques Derrida, they're not that complicated at all. They just try to make themselves sound more complicated.
I think that actually Bearded makes a good point. He says, my opinions are never wrong. Wrong is subjective. If we start viewing opinions as subjective, because for some reason we don't, I don't know why they're not really presented that way a lot of the time.
Wait, if wrong is subjective, premise 1, and my opinions are never wrong, premise 2, then his opinions are never subjective.
Yay! All hail Bearded Heretic. He will be the new pope. I'll send him the hat.
Yeah. Sorry, that didn't work at all. Right, so... But yeah, philosophy for everybody.
Yeah, more philosophy would be good, and introducing it sooner, and introducing it in a way that it's palatable.
Oh, you play games. That's how you do it.
Yeah, I mean, play Soma.
Any game. There's a load of philosophical games.
Play Soma.
Is that a computer game?
Yes.
Okay, I'm very outside the loop when it comes to young
Soma
people
is a game. So spoilers for Soma. So anybody who's playing Soma or going to play Soma, plug your ears for a second. Soma is basically a game that questions whether or not if you download your brain and you go into a new body, and if you then are you the same person?
Oh, okay.
Or are you somebody else? And at the end of the game, you get to the point where because the whole point is that you're trying to get out. You're trying to get out. You come from this core memory, and then you don't know what happened between point A and point B to wherever your body continued to go. And then you get to the end of the game, and you plug your mind in to escape, but you're still there. But you're also over there.
Right.
Okay.
So did you or did you not escape? And the computer ends up explaining to you that it's like, well, you flip a coin. You're either that one or you're this one. So you're the one that has to die.
That sounds horrifying.
Play Soma. Oh, yeah, it's a horror game.
I don't want to kill myself at the end of a game.
Well, you didn't. You downloaded your brain and also escaped.
Okay. The last game I played, I play Minecraft sometimes.
Minecraft's good.
There's no philosophy there.
Well, isn't there?
If I tell you now, this is back when I was married, right? I can be very lame sometimes, but I didn't kill any cow for 3 months, my first 3 months of playing.
That's philosophy, though.
I know, I felt really bad. I was like,
There's basically at the end of the day there's philosophy in fucking everything. And it's just a matter of whether or not you can recognize it.
Oh, I played
Right.
GTA 5 as well. But people used to make fun of me because I stopped all the traffic lights.
Oh, you're one of those guys.
And I didn't want to. Do you know what happened? I was playing GTA, minding my own business. Some guy comes up to me and he says, "Will you take this bag of drugs to the side of town?" You know, I said, "Fuck, no,
That's against the law.
that's a crime. I have no interest in being your drugs. What are you talking about?"
Besides, I got this hooker in the back that I got to kill, so shut up.
That was an accident. But people would still come up to me and say like, "Oh, do you want to do this crime? Do you want to do that crime?" I'm like, "You people are shitty criminals. You're just coming up to a random nobody in the street. Like, I could be an undercover cop. You don't know." And I went into the police station, and they won't let me in, and they won't let me into the hospital either. So I think maybe that game's broken.
Be gay, do crime.
Yeah, I'm not do crime.
There is something to be said about. Somebody went and made a Discord, by the way, for
already
the Church of Atheists.
Nice.
Of course, the picture for the Discord is a rock.
I wouldn't call it the Church of Atheists.
Oh shit!
I will switch out the pinned message from my Discord to this Discord because I definitely I prefer that. I don't think I should be the person who runs this.
Well,
I'm
Garrick said-
happy to help, but I don't think I should be the person to help like run this kind of a shit show.
Garrick said married twice. He went back for more. I should explain what happened. First of all, it wasn't the same person. And secondly, I promised myself I would never make the same mistakes I made in my first marriage. And I'm very proud of the fact that I made a whole bunch of different ones. And that's something I
Well
can
done.
take with me.
Well done.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. And hopefully I will make new mistakes as further on we go.
Yay! I mean,
yes.
that's life, right? You
Yeah.
live, you learn, and sometimes you can fix
Mistakes
what you did,
should,
and
mistakes should
sometimes
always be new, yeah.
All right, so we should probably start wrapping up.
Yeah.
But
Sorry for taking over your stream.
no, that's what I wanted. I was initially thinking about doing this every week, and then I was like, no, fuck that. I don't have the patience for this shit. But I am doing...
when this started, you said, "Yeah, we can do this every week," and then like 2 hours of listening to Barry. No, no.
No. Hey, I mean, if you guys want to come every week, I'm down to hang out with you guys every week. But that's a different kind of concept. So we can talk about that in the background. But
Cool.
As for like doing this, I've got another stream for this, and we're going to see if we get sort of a different rotation of people because we're going to do it later. Now, I initially had scheduled it on top of you guys by accident. So I'm going to push it later. So it's going to be, I think, 2 hours later. So initially it was going to be at 5 p.m. Eastern, but now it's going to be...
We're on tonight as well, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Did you forget?
When does ours start?
In about 2 hours.
Fuck me, I better have something to eat. Yeah, good. We're
You
good.
better.
Yeah, it would have been twice a week, early and late, but that might be too much. But if there's enough of a rotation to it, I'm willing
That's like
to
my
host.
first marriage.
Yeah, right.
Twice a week, early and late. That might be too much.
But it might be better to do more of a once a month thing. But this
Again.
will be live. This will be live again later tonight at 7.
Nice.
So if you're interested and if you want to come on the panel and if you have questions or things that you want to discuss, please feel free to let me know. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me in the Discord. You can find me wherever the fuck. You talk to one of these guys. They'll point you in the right direction.
That's right.
Or you can leave me a comment, really. But what does this look like in the future? Is this like something that is is this going to be a positive thing that is going to be helpful where we kind of sit down, analyze, and discuss these sorts of things? Right now, we're in a very broad range because we haven't narrowed down anything because you have to start here so you can decide what you want to do. So what do we think? We think another one like this? We think...
I think it would have to be more useful than whatever the ACA is doing.
The lowest common denominator.
We can do better than the lowest common denominator. Yeah, I think we can.
Yeah.
And
All
we can
right.
be proud of that.
All right, so we'll
What do you-
call this a success. Go ahead.
What's with the... We'll call this a success with the kind of... I don't know. There was kind of an upward inflection there. A hesitancy. We'll call this a success.
Call this a success, and you can't stop me.
Okay, fair enough.
What is that ominous positivity? You can do it. You have no other choice.
Hang in there or I'll kill you.
Yes.
Yep.
Night Vale positivity.
But what do you guys think? I kind of like the open forum sort of discussion way. I don't really like. I wrote a sermon.
Oh, nice.
We didn't get around to it.
Well, good. I wasn't gonna do it today.
Okay.
I thought about doing it today, and then I was like, no, I think the panel is gonna be better to get a kind of a sense about what people want to do, because this isn't for me. I don't want to sit here and preach at people. I have like a list of fucking problems that I want to talk about, but like just me talking at you, I could just do that as a video instead of a stream anyway. So what do you guys think? I like the panel better personally.
Well, Chesh, I will talk about anything you want for as long as you like. As Seamus is aware.
Does that include something you don't know about?
Oh, absolutely. It includes that.
Yeah.
Like, I know nothing about, what did you call the game? Legends of...
League of Legends.
Yeah, I'll talk about that as long as you need. Marxist analysis, if you like. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. But I will also talk about things that I do know about.
You shouldn't encourage me, because like now my brain is just clicking away of like, okay, so let's talk about the social psychology of a video game where you're put into a cooperative game of 5 random people against 5 random people, and be like, cooperate, good luck everybody.
You think there's not a thesis in there?
And then throw in it's competitive. And there's a national circuit where they have an international
Is this a real thing, or are we still...
This is a real thing.
Okay.
They have the game has an entire fucking international sport that is broadcast.
League of Legends.
Yes. And you make shitloads of money if you play on one of these teams.
Oh, you make money?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
It's a competitive sport.
Do you know what I like about Minecraft?
Yeah.
I have an entire planet to myself. It's the autistic dream.
Yeah, you can literally just never interact with the villagers if you don't want. You can just don't interact with anything. You kill the illagers once and then never go to a village because the raid never happens.
Kill all villagers at entity. Brilliant. Yeah.
Chesh Dillahunty.
Oh, no, that's unnecessary. That's unnecessary.
Oh.
Look what you did. You made her sad. You fuckwit.
Anyway, this is great. And actually, I would love to do this again and talk about it a little bit more. But I'll be live again later. Let's wrap it up. What are you guys doing? You guys are live later today.
Yeah, less than 12, about 2 hours, a little over 2 hours. 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Yep, we're going to talk
this week's fucking drama. Every week, something new with AAI, as you are aware, Chesh.
Atheist Alliance International. That's what the AAI stands for, not Alcoholics International or whatever you thought. Alcoholics Anonymous International. No, so it's another atheist organization that's completely fucked up. So, and just again, we're not beating a dead horse because there's more shit. There's always more shit.
It's one I was actually talking about recently, because I think this is important. I think one of the reasons why this show might happen more often, or at least like not just once or twice, because one, the topics we were discussing were so big that they take more than one show to talk about, and two, that if you don't keep talking about it, people forget that there's alternatives.
Right.
So like I was talking about this with the Amber Heard shit, where I was like, I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot.
Sometimes you have to.
Yeah. And that's what it comes down to. It's like, if you don't repeat it, people start forgetting that that's the thing, and the people who are bullshitting seem to be the only ones talking, and that becomes a problem. So
the biggest weapon they have against us is ignoring us.
Yeah.
I mean,
so we will make that
at me, bro.
We will make that an unsustainable strategy.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. So, all right, let's get out of here. Go to their show, and I'll see you guys later tonight, and we'll see if we get some different panel members for that. Or you guys can come back. No skin off on my back. Please do. Cool. And we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.